Today, it's easy to say we live in a world of monocultures, but today we are here at Hamilton Native Outpost to learn about warm season grasses, cool season grasses, wildflowers, and legumes, and how they all marry together to create the perfect grazing menu. Amy, I understand that we're standing in a native stand of bluestem, and that's actually where Hamilton Native Outpost all began, am I correct?
Yes. After graduating from college, I went to work for the Soil Conservation Service, which is now the Natural Resources Conservation Service.
NRCS.
Yes, NRCS. And there I learned about native warm season grasses, how they grow in the warmer times of the year, and how they're good for livestock. Green growing forages are good for livestock, and how they're more efficient with water.
And you know, in Missouri, in southern Missouri, we live in the fescue belt. And we are very familiar with what the side effects of fescue and the toxicity that it brings to our livestock. How does native grasses kind of mitigate the natural grasses that are growing? I say natural, and that's not even natural, because I think you were telling me that fescue's only been in the area for about 75 years, but the grasses that are growing in our fields today.
Yeah, so come to find out, fescue has an endophyte that grows within its leaves, and it's toxic to our cattle. And in fact, agronomists at the University of Missouri say it is a $200 million problem here in the state. And the warm season grasses do not have this toxicity problem.
So we're in a stand of bluestem. What are some other warm seeded native grasses to our area?
Some of the other big warm season grasses are Indian grass, eastern gamma grass, switchgrass.
And so we talk about your tenure in this. You said you started this when you're out of college. You've been in this for over 35 years?
For over 35 years.
How has you say that you don't do a lot of research, but you really do a lot of research, because you're tangibly seeing the effects on your own herd and on the producers' herds throughout the area. So how have you seen that develop and learn throughout that process?
Yeah, so it has developed as we've gotten to know, as we've been on our Missouri prairies. We've seen a lot of diversity. And so what we are really interested in is this diversity that all grows together in our grassland. And we find that the prairies have cool season plants, they have warm season plants, they have wildflowers, and they have legumes within them. And all these plants, we call these our functional diversity groups, and it's how we try to design our diverse native mixes for diverse native grasslands.
So you talk about it starting here with your bluestem field, and that's where we're at today. But you quickly were driving through the roadsides and saw a lot of native wildflowers, and let's talk about that and see how that kind of naturally fit in next into your business model.
Yeah, so we couldn't help but see the native wildflowers as we'd be driving on the county roads and around, and we took an interest in these native plants and started keying them out, figuring out what they were. We started harvesting these a lot of times just with a pocket knife to get our first start of these, and growing them, and of course we enjoy them in landscaping as well.
Let's go see them.
Okay.
We are in this beautiful stand of native wildflowers in your yard. But this started 30 years ago when you started harvesting roadside wildflowers, and then decided that there was a market for them. And so you were doing it so many years ago. How did you know that there was going to be that demand for wildflowers?
So yeah, we were doing natives before natives were cool, but I think you just can't help but appreciate the beauty in these wildflowers. We have the starry rosinweed, the purple blazing stars, and that red royal catchfly right there. The hummingbirds just love that plant. This here is a sweet black-eyed Susan. It gets taller than the common black-eyed Susan that you're probably familiar with on our roadsides and in our pastures. This one here is actually a deep-rooted perennial. whereas the common black-eyed Susan is actually just a biennial.
So when we're thinking about, I want to start a native wildflower garden in my yard to kind of hone in on native landscaping, what time of the year do you see the most sales? When should I start planning that out?
Yeah, so if you're going to actually use seeds in planting, you know, you've got to start the process way ahead of time, getting rid of the lawn or a fescue field or whatever. So you need to start that process, and you need to remember you need to actually plant seeds in the month of January or February.
Oh.
So that's the seeds have a dormancy in them, and they won't germinate in the spring if you just plant them in the springtime. They have to go through winter first.
So Amy, we're in your stand of hairy mountain mint. Now, to a layman like me, I look at it like, oh, it's just another weed, but it's not. This is attracting the pollinators that we see all around us. Talk about its value.
Yeah, so this is a great pollinator plant. The pollinators just love it. We've got lots of bees, wasps, moths, butterflies, you know, on this hairy mountain mint. And pollinators are important to mankind because, you know, it pollinates the seeds and the nuts and the fruit that we eat.
Amy, when we were back at the blue stem stand, you mentioned the word diversity. This is a field of diversity, so what do we see here?
Yeah, so we call this our diverse native grassland, and in it we've planted what we call 4 functional diversity groups. One of those functional diversity groups is cool season grasses. And you can see here in August, this cool season grass is not growing very much, and it's because it's not its time. It was growing earlier in the spring, and then it will come back in the fall and be part of our winter stockpile. So then, of course, we talked about the warm season grasses, how they're really growing this big blue stem, really cranking it on here in the heat of the summer. Then we also have some of the wildflowers.
What is this?
And this here is sawtooth sunflower. It's a sunflower. The cows readily eat the leaves off of these sunflowers. They will eat the leaves, and the stalk then remains.
So this is a pre-graze. These cows you're letting out into this little patch today. But if we cross the road,
yes,
we can see after the cows have grazed it and what it looks like.
Yes.
And we can kind of see the different grasses that are coming back, maybe the ones they like the most, and then what the fertilizer, like we're stated in, is going to do to the land.
Yes, yes. So you can see here how they ate this big blue stem, eating the palatable leaves, but leaving the stem. The sunflower right here, they ate the top off, but left some of the leaves, and then they did strip off some of the lower leaves when they grazed. So, you know, this here part of the field that is left, though, turns out it's really important to grassland birds. These birds need cover from aerial predators.
How do you advise a producer who's coming in and wanting to establish this? And I hear the cows coming up the hill, so they're ready for this stand. But how do you educate them? Because soil quality across the state's different.
Yes, so, you know, so we do have field days, and we try to get people to come into our field days. And we do, a lot of plants grow in a wide variety of soils, but we try to help the producers get the right plant in the right place, and we help make up mixes of diversity for grazing as well as for landscaping.
Amy, I've learned a lot. I've raised cattle my entire life, but this is fun and new, and I could ask you 1,000 more questions. But where can folks go to learn more about this native, not new, but native grasses concept that is really kicking off?
Well, check out our website at hamiltonnativeoutpost.com, and we've got videos that you can watch there. We're in the process of working with the Missouri Department of Conservation on a quail video, and we are hoping to do some soil health videos soon.